Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shelly. I'm a 6th grade teacher in Northern California, and welcome to a new video in my new school year series. This is by far the most highly requested video on my channel right now. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about all the different things that you can be doing over the summer to prep and plan for this next school year. If you are anything like me and you're walking into your first year of teaching, you want to spend this summer getting as prepared as you possibly can. And the good news is there are definitely things that you can do to prep and plan and prepare for this next school year. So when you walk in the door on day one, you feel a little bit of ease. So if you're interested in things that you can be doing over this summer, go ahead and keep on watching. So we're gonna start with the big one because I think this is the one that hangs over a lot of people's heads the most, and that is curriculum. Now, there's a little bit of bad news with this one, especially if you're a first year teacher, because there isn't a whole lot you can do to prep and plan as far as curriculum goes, and let me tell you why. This won't go for everyone, but I know for most teachers that are brand new, you're not gonna get your hands on the curriculum. You're not really gonna get a chance to meet with your team over the summer to kind of backwards plan the entire school year, let alone the first 2 months. So, in terms of the curriculum, it's gonna be really, really hard to actually plan out what you're gonna do those first few months. Your first year, unfortunately, is very much a plan as you go kind of year. You're learning the curriculum and the standards as you teach throughout the year. So it's not a year where you're gonna have a lot of pre-planning going on in terms of curriculum. In the following years, you're definitely gonna be able to spend some of that summertime tweaking things, finding supplemental activities and things like that. But year one, just go into it knowing that it's gonna be a plan as you go year for most people. The good news to the curriculum side of things is there is definitely something you can do that I think will help you. And I did it my first year and I still do it now, and that is to go online, find your content standards for the state and the grade that you're teaching, print them out, laminate them, hole punch them, and put them on a book ring. I have a tack next to my desk and these hang here all year long. That way, if I need to reference my standards for any reason, I have them right there and I don't have to keep going online and trying to find the one that I'm looking for. And as I teach things, I can put a little dot or a check mark next to them, and it's a really easy way to kind of keep track of what you are teaching throughout the year. So that is one thing that you can definitely do to prep and plan to at least be a little bit prepared in the curriculum department. Another thing you can do in terms of your standards, and this might look different for everybody, but you can print, create, whatever you want to do, like learning targets for each of your standards. I personally just write them on my whiteboard, but if you're somebody that wants to have them pre-printed and you're just gonna stick them up there, that's something else that you could do to prep over the summer. If that's kind of what you wanna go for. You could use this time to get some of that busy work done. So that's something else you can do with those standards. The next two things I wanna talk about are really, really crucial. And I do this every year, not just my first year, but I think they're even more important going into your very first year of teaching. And that first one is setting up and dialing in your routines and procedures. And I'm gonna offer you one way to do this. There's more than one way, obviously, but this is what I do. My first year of teaching, I wrote down on a piece of paper any and every routine or procedure that I could think of that I wanted to solidify, and then buy anything that I needed that kind of helped that procedure go along. And I wanted to have that dialed in before I even got into my classroom. So this is anything from pencil sharpening, lunch boxes, getting a drink of water, tissues, coming to the carpet, morning meeting. I mean, I'm talking any and every procedure and routine that you can think of. Calendar, I mean, there's 100. Write them down. And I even typed up what I wanted to do for each one. I don't do that now, obviously, but going into my first year, it was just like something to do over the summer. And it made me feel so much more confident going into that first day, because that's when they start, first day. And you're already gonna be nervous and you don't wanna be like, you can sharpen a pencil whenever you want, like kind of thing, and have to think of something on the fly. So write out all your procedures and routines, and I'm telling you, it'll make you that much more less stressed. There definitely will be some that you're not foreseeing, but at least you're gonna get a jump on it. So that's a big one. Set up all your routines, procedures, and then you can go buy the baskets or clipboards or whatever you're gonna need for those procedures. And then piggybacking off of that one, this one I would say is even more important, if not the most important thing, especially if you're a first year teacher, and that is setting up and solidifying your behavior management plan. In my opinion, behavior management is one of the most important things to focus on your first year of teaching, because it's the hardest thing, again, in my opinion, with teaching in general. anyone can kind of teach information, but being able to manage a classroom and make connections with your kids, that is the tricky part, and that's where kind of the art of teaching comes in my opinion. So want to walk in on day one with your behavior management set in place. Are you going to be using positive reinforcements, clip charts? What are your consequences? That's something that I did not do. Like, I didn't know what my consequences were going to be. So are you going to do like the 3-strike rule? Whatever it's gonna be, make sure that you know what you're gonna do. And again, I would have it completely written out, probably in too much detail. That way you know exactly what you're going to do. Because the thing with behavior management is you have to hit it hard on day one and you have to stay consistent. Otherwise it's not gonna work. And I mentioned in another video that I had to change my whole thing mid-year, and that's totally fine. But at least go into day one with something solid, so you have something to lean on. Otherwise, it's gonna be chaos and you're gonna cry. So once you know exactly what you're gonna do for your behavior management, you can spend some time over the summer prepping things that you might need for it. For me, for example, I have a reward system, so I would spend the summer making my poster that has the prizes. If you're gonna use some sort of like money, a token economy, you can be creating that. Brag tags, you can be laminating those. I mean, there's 100 things that you can do once you have solidified what you're gonna do for your behavior management. There's things that you can do to kind of prep over the summer as well. While we're on the topic of behavior management, go down to the comments and let us know what you do for your behavior management that works, because there are 100 different theories out there and maybe there's something that we haven't heard of. So go leave it down below. I would be so interested to see what you guys are doing in your own classrooms. The next thing that you could possibly do over the summer for like prep work is all the administrative kind of stuff. So for example, this for me looks like compiling all my new parent emails, getting all of my rosters set up for my gradebook, figuring out my paper flow, how I want that to look, and then getting the necessary things that I need for that. So for example, I've used a bunch of different ways for paper flow. I've used drawers, I've used folders, I've used binders, I've used clipboards, and this last year I used like wall file things, and that worked for me. So figure out some sort of system that you want to use and get the materials for that. And then the other stuff you can't really do until you have your roster, but as soon as you get it, which I know we get ours, I already have mine for next year. So I'll go through and I'll pull all those kids' emails, I'll write down their birthdays, and I'll just kind of get all that administrative stuff done over the summer, because that's like the last thing you want to do when you go back to work to start planning for the year. Like, you don't want to have to do all that busy work. So as early as you can get it done, get some of that stuff done. So that's something that I would recommend you for sure could do over the summer, so long as you have access to that information. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, in my opinion, is the most fun thing to do over the summer, and that is prep and create anything that you want for your own classroom. Now this is going to look very different depending on the grade level that you're teaching, and this is going to specifically apply to those very brand new teachers. This is what I spent most of my summer doing. So I was labeling all of the new books that I got with my name on them. I was creating labels for things. Don't go too crazy, because if you watched my classroom setup video, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, because then you're gonna have all this extra stuff. But there are some things that you could do. So labeling your library books. If you're teaching the primary grades, think about the walls that you're gonna have. You can make titles for your bulletin boards. You can set up a word wall, like all those sight words. If you're in primary, like you're gonna need those at some point. If you know you want to have a birthday wall, you can create the titles for your birthdays. Any sort of posters that you want to have in the room. This took up a lot of my summer because I went way too crazy, but it's definitely something that you could do to prep ahead of time, because again, if you get a week to set up your classroom and then you're scrambling last minute to do these like really kind of tedious tasks, you're gonna get overwhelmed. So if you can and you have the ability to do some of this stuff at home, go ahead and do it now. I would suggest buying a laminator if that's the kind of person that you are. You can get them on Amazon or Walmart for like 20 bucks. I have two. I have one here and I have one in my classroom. I broke that thing in so hard my first year of teaching over the summer. I was creating all the things. So it's definitely something you can do to prep for the next school year. The last little tip that I'm gonna leave you with on that note is refrain from creating name tags and labeling all of your student supplies until like literally the day before school, because in my experience, my roster changes quite literally up until like the day before school. The last thing you want to do is label everything and everyone has a student number, and then your roster changes and no, everyone has a new number, and you're like, dang it. So in terms of creating things for your classroom, that's the one thing I'm going to say hold off on, and do that once you get into your classroom for real. All right, guys, I know it wasn't a ton of ideas, but I'm hoping that you found these somewhat helpful and you're gonna go get started prepping and planning for your classroom. Let me know down below if you've already started some of these things or if you have any other ideas for teachers out there that they can do over the summer. It kind of goes without saying that this next school year is gonna look different no matter where we are. There's a lot of factors at play here. Some of us are gonna be distance learning, hybrid, sometimes some of us are full-time. We don't really know what it's gonna look like, but regardless, I hope you guys have an amazing new school year. I hope you really enjoy your summer. If you're done teaching, happy summer break. If you're not quite done, hang in there, you're close. But other than that, I love you guys so much and I will see you in the next video. Bye.